right, Bobby Manning here. Welcome to the Garden Report with a special guest here today.
Thank you so much, Bobby.
From the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, Lauren Williams is here. Covered the Hawks all year, so we're going to get a Hawks perspective ahead of what could be a first-round series between these two teams.
Yeah.
Celtics won a pretty short-handed effort between both of them, 120-114. The collective that was on the floor today and across the league was pretty stunning, but big games for Pritchard, Hauser, as well as Mike Muscala pushed the Celtics ahead. We're going to forget all of that, and we're just going to throw it right to this team. Just looking 41-41. I think they broke a record this year for being within a game of 500, and their net rating was 0.1, which is just perfect.
This Hawks team has been absolutely, as I could say, mid, as the kids would like to say. I've said that several times in a bunch of podcasts, and this team is just, you never know what you're going to get on any given night. One night they're playing up to their competition, one night they're playing down. We've seen them have losses, really bad losses to a Charlotte Hornets team, a San Antonio Spurs team. So it's just, you never know what you're going to get. And they've lost 3 of their matchups against the Heat so far this season. Their lone win came at home on Martin Luther King Day. So again, you just never know, especially if the Heat are going to be trotting out a pretty healthy roster, which we know that they will, especially with Bam Adebayo in that front court, Jimmy Butler, and several of those guys. Trae Young has had historically a rough time against them, especially since last season's playoffs. So it's hard to imagine that it's going to have a turnaround when they play the Heat on Tuesday.
CLNS Media's Celtics coverage is brought to you by FanDuel. Sign up at FanDuel.com/Boston and make every moment more on America's #1 sportsbook.
Well, I'll give any team a chance in one game, especially ones that have played games as closely as they have. I think it's 3-1, but they've all been relatively close between those two. The offense has been amazing, too, by the way. I think it got up to the top 5, 6 or so in the league, under Quinn Snyder especially. So I guess throw a percentage chance on it. What percent chance are you giving the Hawks in this game?
I'm going to give them a 40% chance. Watching this team all season long, and especially in matchups against the Heat, it's just hard for me to imagine that they're going to pull off that one win. I actually end up seeing them having to play 2 play-in games to get into the playoffs, and then we'll go from there. Of course, if they have to play 2 play-in games, they'll have to play the Bucks, but if they have to play that one and they happen to win that, they'll be facing your Celtics.
Well, how do they match up? We've only seen 2 games between them this year. Were those both under McMillan, I want to say, probably, or much earlier in the year? The second one, I think, might have been under Snyder.
The second one was under Quinn Snyder on March 11th. The Hawks let Nate McMillan go right at the end of the All-Star break in February. So 2 matchups under Quinn Snyder, 1 under McMillan, but this team has just struggled to defend against the Celtics because they have a really hot shooting team. We saw that with their reserves today. They struggled, even though it was matchups against both benches.
And they love to attack mismatches, which goes right to Trae Young. He'll have to hold up against Tatum, Brown. Brown's got that finger cut. They say he'll be back for game 1. We'll see how he looks in that, but nonetheless, you see the depth of this team. Even if they are missing someone at some point in this series, they could just sweep right through the Hawks.
Exactly. I mean, this Hawks team has kind of struggled with depth this season. Of course, they added in a little bit more when they had Sadiq Bey come in at the trade deadline, but you never know what you're going to get with this team. And one night it could be Trae Young going off for 30 points. One night it could be DeJounte Murray going off for 20 points. So again, the offense is not the issue. It's a defense, and they haven't consistently bought into that all season long. We'll see some games where there's a lot of energy. They care about the defensive side of things. And then some nights it looks like they don't even know how to pick up a guy at half court.
What is it going to, let's start with one game. Let's say push this to 5 and then you go from there. What's it going to take for Atlanta to win one game in a potential series between these two?
Just playing consistent defense for all 48 minutes. I think sometimes you see them come out of the locker room at halftime and they're very slow to start. And if it's not at halftime, it'll be at the beginning of the game that they struggle to come out with the right amount of energy, and then they kind of figure it out. So if they can play consistently for a full 48 minutes, I think that's what's going to help them get that one game.
And it is strange to see a team change a coach mid-season. You're talking to Snyder pregame. What's the biggest difference you've noticed under them so far, under him compared to McMillan?
I think it's clear that this team has bought into a lot of what Snyder is preaching. If they can't consistently use the habits that he's trying to teach them, they've at least bought into what he can do out of timeouts and how he can help that offensive side of things.
And finally, the Celtics team, you've watched them. Everyone I talk to loves them.
Yeah.
They've had their slip-ups this year. It's a stacked East. Brad Stevens
Yes.
was just saying that before the game. He says this is probably the best East he can remember. Are they at the top of it in your mind?
You know, at the beginning of the year, I had the Celtics going all the way to the NBA Finals. So I still believe that they will be the team that's going to be the last one standing in the Eastern Conference.
All right, she is Lauren Williams. You can check her out at the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. We'll welcome you back next weekend if the Hawks do make it in that play-in game. 7 o'clock Tuesday, Hawks Heat in Miami. Check out her coverage of that game for all of the inside depth on what ends up happening there. Big game. Celtics going to sit back and wait for the winner of that game, and game one either Saturday or Sunday next weekend. More to come from this game, including Brad Stevens' conversation with the media here today. Josue Pavone will be joining me in just a second. Our next video, check us out on Celtics All Access and CLNS Media, and thanks again, Lauren.
Thank you, Bobby.